this is going to be the most important year of my career because, you know, all eyes on me this year. Everybody wants to see if I can be the captain, if I can be a leader, if I can be a professional besides just playing basketball. And I'm up for the task.
At number 6, the 2000-2001 Philadelphia 76ers. The story of this team was a squad that went on an unlikely and improbable journey to a level that nobody could have seen coming. Everybody knew Allen Iverson had God-given talent and had proved to be a superstar in this league. But people questioned, could he be the leader the team needed to accomplish their ultimate goal? This season stands as one of the most exciting in franchise history. Some 76ers fans love this team even more than the championship team in the 80s. It's kind of how the Warriors fans feel about the 2007 We Believe team. The city of Philly could identify with the type of team that played on the court. Philadelphia is a blue-collar city. The 2001 76ers were a blue-collar team. This team truly embodied the city. That's why the fans really love this team. They were competitors, grinders. They hustled for every loose ball, and if they got knocked down, they got right back up. Still able to go to work even if they had a couple of bumps and bruises, all in a day's work. This team also embodied the mindset of their relentless head coach, Larry Brown. They accomplished goals that nobody could have dreamed of before the season started. But with all the great things that happened that year, this dream season for the 76ers almost didn't happen. Let's take you back to 1996, when the 76ers were a laughingstock of a franchise. A team that went 4 straight years of not reaching at least 30 wins. 1991 was the last time they made the playoffs, when Charles Barkley was still on the team. The 1995-96 season was another disaster as they won only 18 games. Even though they had a young talent like Jerry Stackhouse, they needed a true superstar to revitalize the franchise.
With the first pick in the 1996 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Allen Iverson from Georgetown University.
They took the skinny kid from Georgetown, one of the many great players in one of the greatest draft classes of all time. Iverson had the game, the attitude, and the heart, and he was quick to showcase his favorite move, the killer crossover. Guarding this guy was a nightmare for anybody. He had world-class quickness and world-class speed. Iverson just had a knack for getting buckets. With that talent, he also had supreme confidence that he can do whatever he wanted against whoever stepped up to the challenge. This kid from Virginia had the audacity to talk trash to the great Michael Jordan, and also had the audacity to make him look like a fool on a basketball court. They knew they had a guy they could rally around, and who can lift the franchise out of the abyss. But success wasn't immediate. In Iverson's rookie year, they only won 22 games, a 4-game improvement from the previous year. The 76ers decided to make a change at head coach. Johnny Dawkins was let go, and the great Larry Brown was the new head coach. He had the task of turning Iverson into a winning basketball player. They were both bulldogs. It had to be their way. But the two could not have been more opposite. Larry Brown was a basketball purist, somebody who always preached playing the game the right way. Iverson was a brash, one-man scoring machine, who most of the time tried to win the game by himself. There was no gray area with Allen Iverson. You could say he was immature to a fault, or wise beyond his years. Somebody who was a great teammate, or somebody who possessed a me-first attitude. Maybe there's some truth to all of it. But one thing you was guaranteed to get from AI was that he was going to play every game like it's his last. He might not always play the way Larry Brown would like him to play, but he was going to give 110% effort every time he stepped on the basketball court. Iverson was the ultimate competitor. His will, determination, and pain tolerance was incredible. The problem was Iverson had to prove to be a leader for Larry Brown. AI was somebody who loved to enjoy himself after the game. Staying out late partying was something he did on a regular basis. In doing that, he often showed up to practice late. Having a coach like Larry Brown, you knew that was going to be a problem. Larry Brown always voiced his frustration coaching a player like Iverson. He knew how great of a talent he was, but it was a struggle for Larry to rein him in and have him see eye to eye. Brown's patience and tough love helped Iverson turn into the superstar he always had the potential for. Instead of keeping him at point guard, he moved Iverson to the 2 guard, which was a genius move. Because of Eric Snow's good size and physicality on defense, this was an easy transition. Now Iverson had the green light to shoot early and often. Instead of having Iverson run plays, Larry Brown had him setting up on the wing, which allowed him to be the true scorer that he was. With Iverson scoring and his teammates' defense, the 76ers started winning for the first time in a long time. The lockout season of 98-99 was the first time they made the playoffs since 1991. They made the playoff 2 years in a row, and they also made it past the first round 2 years in a row. But they met the same team in the second round both times, Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers proved too much for the 76ers to handle. After that disappointment, the relationship between the coach and the superstar was the worst it had ever been. The summer of 2000 for the Sixers was a game changer. Larry Brown didn't want to put up with Iverson anymore, and Iverson didn't want to play for Larry Brown anymore. It had seemed that one of them had to go. Brown even threatened to quit if he had to coach Iverson again. The team president, Pat Croce, was the one who helped make the decision to draft Iverson in 1996. He loved Iverson and was always on his side. He was Iverson's biggest defender. He envisioned Iverson being in the Sixers uniform for a long time. For him to even consider trading him was devastating for him. But he could no longer defend him because he was constantly breaking the coach's rules. Croce personally called Iverson to let him know it was a good chance he could be traded. That shows you the love that Pat Croce had for Iverson to let him know of the situation. A team usually don't tell a player when he's traded or about to be traded. All of a sudden, the 76ers had agreed in principle to a 14 multiplayer trade in the summer of 2000. That would have sent Iverson and Matt Geiger to the Pistons, and the 76ers would have received Eddie Jones, Glenn Rice, and Jerome Williams. It was a done deal. Iverson was no longer a 76er. But there was one thing that needed to happen to make this trade official. The 76ers needed cooperation from Matt Geiger. The 6-year, $47 million contract he signed had a clause in it that awards him a 15% pay raise, basically a trade kicker, another $3.3 million on the contract. Under the NBA salary cap rules at the time, the trade wouldn't work unless Geiger waived his trade kicker in his contract. Geiger knew that Detroit wasn't a good spot for him or Iverson, so he made the amazing decision not to waive his trade kicker that killed this blockbuster trade from happening. This was a reality check for AI. It was real now. From this point on, Iverson said all the right things. He knew it was on him to make this work. After talking to Pat Croce and Billy King, Iverson knew he had to change. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I just owe it to myself. I think, this year will be definitely the best season I've had since I've been in the NBA.
This season would determine if Iverson stayed with the 76ers long term or not. Larry Brown and Iverson agreed to come together and try to make this work. Iverson was as focused as he ever been at this point of his career. Those two things set a tone throughout the whole team. This team was on a mission. Everybody was locked in and on the same page. This team was made up of one superstar and a roster full of role players that will run through a brick wall for their head coach. This team was full of defensive specialists, hard-nosed players like Eric Snow, Aaron McKie, George Lynch, Tyrone Hill, and Theo Rattler. Neither cared about accolades or recognition. They only cared about winning. Tony Kukoc was the team best shooter as he shot 41% from the three-point line. When the season began, the 76ers were considered by some to be maybe the fifth best team in the Eastern Conference, behind the Pacers, the Magic, the Knicks, and the Bucks. The Sixers were eager to show the world how much they had grown. This team got off to the best start in franchise history with a 10-0 record. They made their mark on the defensive end. They were 5th in the NBA in opponents' points per game and 5th in defensive rating. Iverson had to give an MVP performance on offense to help this team become a championship contender. This season defined Iverson's career more than any other season. This season proved that Iverson could lead a team and take them far into the playoffs. He led the league in scoring with 31 points per game, and he posted his second highest PER of his career. Aaron McKie displayed his all-around game as he contributed on both sides of the ball. He had a 2-game stretch where he posted back-to-back triple-doubles. Big man Theo Rattler had a breakout season. His production and growth was a big surprise for the 76ers. Ratliff averaged just over 12 points, 8 rebounds, and led the league in blocks with almost 4 blocks per game. At the All-Star break, the 76ers were 42-14, which was the best record in the NBA. But there was one big problem they had to face. Their first-time All-Star Theo Ratliff had broke his wrist during a game against the Indiana Pacers just before the All-Star break. Already having played 56 games and with 26 games left in the season, the team knew it was a strong possibility that he might not be able to come back in time for the playoffs. Larry Brown always had great respect for Dikembe Mutombo, and he had a chance to coach him in the All-Star game. It was one of the best All-Star games you will ever see. Players like Iverson, Marbury, and Mutombo led the way. The East came all the way back from down 21 points and upset the West in the final seconds. Iverson's MVP speech just showed you how much his relationship with his head coach had grown.
Where's my coach? Where's my coach? Coach Brown. Is he around? You know, this is a tribute to Coach Brown, my teammates, my family, my friends, all the fans that been loving me from day one.
After all that, their big man issues still remain, and the 76ers made the bold move to trade their young all-star center in Theo Ratliff, along with Tony Kukoc, for 34-year-old Dikembe Mutombo.
You say all of them.
It's very simple. It's Dikembe Mutombo Polondo Mukama Diken Jean-Jacques Mutombo. It's just very simple.
This decision will fill a short-term hole in order for the opportunity to win a championship that season. Knowing what we know now, Theo Ratliff was never the same player again. He could never recapture his production of that season. He played in only 3 games for the Hawks that season, and he never played more than 63 games the rest of his career. The 76ers had cooled down in the second half of the season compared to the first half, but they still was able to finish with the best record in the Eastern Conference. In the first round, as the number 1 seed, they matched up with the Indiana Pacers, a team that had eliminated them in the last 2 seasons. And in Game 1, the Pacers stunned the 76ers as Reggie Miller hit a game-winning 3 with just 3 seconds left in the game. It was a devastating loss for this team. Even as the number 1 seed, it seemed that the Pacers still had their number. Could an 8 seed again defeat a number 1 seed? The leaders of the 76ers didn't let that happen. This was a different 76ers team. After scoring only 16 points in Game 1, Iverson showed why he was about to be crowned league MVP as he finished with 45 points in Game 2, 32 points in Game 3, and 33 points in Game 4 as the Sixers closed out the series 3-1. No other team in NBA history won as many awards as the 2001 76ers. Aaron McKee was consistent the whole year. He captured the 6th Man of the Year trophy, Dikembe Mutombo won Defensive Player of the Year, Larry Brown won Coach of the Year, and AI took home the league MVP.
I've always talked about playing the right way, and this team does that. I think anytime you win an award like this, it's a reflection of what your team does.
This is what I need to be in the weight room for. We went through hell this summer. We went through a lot this summer. And it showed a lot about Coach Brown and myself to just, for one time, in my career, I just sat back and tried to listen and understand somebody else.
Their second round matchup was against the Toronto Raptors. Vince Carter and Allen Iverson had a duel for the ages. After the Raptors won Game 1, AI dropped 54 points in Game 2 to even the series. At one point, he scored 19 straight points for the 76ers. In Game 3, Vince Carter returned the favor. The Raptors showed up and blew out the 76ers as Vince Carter dropped 50 points. The 76ers defense stepped up in Game 4 and won a close one on the road. Game 5 was probably Iverson's greatest performance of his career. This guy scored 52 points on a ridiculous 65% from the field, and most of his shot attempts was heavily contested. After Vince led the Raptors to a Game 6 victory with 39 points, it set up a winner-take-all Game 7. The 76ers were up by 1 point, and the Raptors had the ball.
Carter trying to get free. Carter at the buzzer. No good. And the Sixers hold on and advance to the conference finals.
The 76ers advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals. They will go on to face Ray Allen and the Milwaukee Bucks in the conference finals. This was another physically demanding series for the 76ers. They were running on fumes as a team. The Sixers ended up resting Iverson in Game 3 because of all the injuries he had suffered. After getting blowed out in Game 6, the 76ers had to play another Game 7 in Philly. After struggling from the field in a few games against the Bucks, Iverson really showed up when he was needed. He dropped 44 points and added 7 assists to lead the 76ers to a 108-91 victory. Mutombo also was a beast in the game as he scored 23 points, 19 rebounds, and 7 blocks, showing the Bucks head coach George Karl that he could be a factor in the series. This team had advanced to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1983. The next matchup was David versus Goliath, the 76ers versus the Lakers. Iverson versus Kobe and Shaq. The Lakers swept right through the Western Conference playoffs and came into the finals hotter than any team in NBA history. They had lost a game since April Fool's Day. After the Lakers got a big early lead in Game 1, the 76ers battled back behind their MVP. And with the 76ers up by 2 points with around 55 seconds left in overtime, Iverson hit one of the most iconic shots in playoff history.
Bothered by Lou. Iverson. Yes. How about that? And steps over Teron Lou.
The 76ers pulled off a stunner in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. But that was as good as it got for the Sixers. They battled through injuries throughout the whole season. Eric Snow was playing with a broken ankle. Iverson was playing with a bruised tailbone. Mutombo had a left finger fracture. George Lynch had broke his foot. And Aaron McKee had a right ankle chip fracture. This Sixers team scrapped and clawed, but they ultimately lost the next 4 games to the mighty Los Angeles Lakers. Even though this team never won a championship, this team still holds a special place in the hearts of Philly fans. They were just as proud of this team as they were of the 1983 championship team. This blue-collar city was able to root for a team that represented them the most.